So strap in. This is going to be a long one. How's it going, guys? River Patriot here, coming at you with a new video. Finally, the video you guys have been waiting for, the Pittsburgh Gun Control video. I have a bunch of notes that I have written down here I'm going to go through. I actually have copies of all of the gun ordinances that were sent to me, the ones that were drafted back in December. I have a copy of all three of them. I'll go through those. I'll be reading portions of them just to kind of give you guys a better idea of what's going on. We'll obviously discuss my feelings on them and talk about some other stuff. Alright guys, so let's get started. A couple things I want to go through first is I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of a timeline of what happened. Kind of briefly talk about the three gun ordinances that were proposed, and then from there I'll kind of go back and do a little more in-depth talk about the gun ordinances, read sections of them, kind of give you my thoughts on each, and we'll kind of move through those individually. After that, I kind of just close things up, and we'll go from there. So the first thing I want to go over is a timeline. So what I really think kicked all this off was the Tree of Life shooting on October 27th. There was if you guys don't know, there was a mass shooting here in Pittsburgh at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Squirrel Hill. There was a guy, his name was Robert Bowers. He walked into the Tree of Life Synagogue with an AR-15, and I believe a pistol as well, and started shooting people that were in worship there. In total, he shot and killed 11 people. He actually injured 2 police officers as well in the whole altercation. They did capture him, and he is standing trial for that. Really terrible thing, and I guess it kind of really hit home for a lot of different people. It really shook the community. I mean, obviously, it was a terrible thing that happened. But my problem is it gave the anti-gunners here in Pittsburgh the fuel that they needed to start that fire and start pushing for more gun control. So after the Tree of Life Synagogue on December 14th, the City Council and Mayor Bill Peduto had announced that they were going to draft some gun legislation to help curb gun violence here in Pittsburgh. So they drafted 3 laws that they announced officially on December 18th. So those 3 gun laws that they came up with were an assault weapons ban, an accessories and ammunition ban, and then an extreme risk protection order proposal. If you guys don't know what those are, they call it red flag laws, extreme risk protection orders. Basically, what they are if somebody feels that somebody might be a violent person or might commit a crime, a person can file an extreme risk protection order against somebody, and they can come confiscate all your weapons without due process. So I'll go through that more. Obviously, we'll talk about it more as I go through the actual law and the paperwork, what they came up with. But for the most part, those are the 3 that they came up with. So after that happened, excuse me, here, let me look at my notes. There was a lot of pro-gun groups that came together. There was the Firearm Owners Against Crime and Open Carry PA. They immediately sent a letter to the City Council explaining what they were doing was wrong. They drafted, I think it was a 5 or 7 page letter, and in it was basically all the statutes all the laws that they were breaking. So in the state of Pennsylvania, we have a preemption law, PA State 18 CSA Section 6120. It basically keeps municipalities, localities, any kind of townships or cities, from creating any ordinances against firearms, ammunition, and accessories. All those decisions, the way the PA legislation is set up, or the government's set up, and the laws are written, is that any laws for firearms, accessories, and ammunition must be made at the state level. They cannot be made at a local level, which is good in a sense. It keeps these things from happening. But the City Council and Mayor Bill Peduto are still pushing the 3 ordinances that they came up with, the 3 gun laws that they come up with. Even after, Firearms Owners Against Crime and Open Carry PA sent letters. They even included, even in that letter, were cases that involve cities and other towns that tried to pass local gun legislation or anti-gun legislation, and how they failed, and how they were, how the rulings were overturned and held up in court in the defendant's favor. So it was more of like I don't want to call it a scare tactic, but it was basically telling the council, hey, look, other places have tried this before in the state of Pennsylvania, and it failed. So what are you doing? That was basically, I guess, the bottom line or the undertone of the letter. So after that, there was a rally that happened on January 7th. Firearms Owners Against Crime and Open Carry PA hosted the event. There were a lot of other pro-gun groups that came. There was close to 1,000 people, if not over 1,000 people that came to that rally. It was a complete open carry rally too. Personally, I really didn't agree with that. I thought it would be a little more inflammatory for people to carry rifles and long guns and come all suited up in their tactical gear. I went in plain clothes. Obviously I carried my concealed carry pistol, but that's a discussion for later. But even with all those people that showed up in open carry long guns and pistols and were all kitted out in their tactical gear, there was not a single issue. There was not a single fight, not a single argument. There was nothing like that happened. It was a very, very peaceful protest. There were some really good speakers that said a lot of good things and said a lot of, convincing things too. They were trying to convince the city council to stop doing what they were doing. It was a very, very good rally, and I shout out to those guys at Open Carry PA and FOAC for doing a really good job and really putting it together. Just a quick tidbit, if you guys are from Pittsburgh or Western Pennsylvania, or Pennsylvania in general, because this could go statewide if it does get pushed and whatnot. But if you guys are from Pennsylvania, I highly suggest you join those groups to keep informed. That's where I get most of my information from. Those guys are spearheading the fight right now in Pittsburgh. They're the ones that are handling most of it. So if you guys want to keep up to date on that stuff, join their Facebook group, join their Instagrams. I think they have an Instagram, or join their websites. I think they have links on their websites or whatever. But get informed and get involved. So what ended up happening was one of the city council members, Corey O'Connor. He's kind of like the voice of this whole deal. Him and Bill Peduto. Corey O'Connor had sent a letter to District Attorney Zappala. Zappala reviewed all the ordinances and basically told Corey O'Connor that, look, man, what you're doing is wrong. It's actually against state law, and it's not going to work. It was written as a warning to the city council and Bill Peduto that what they were doing, they could actually incur criminal charges for trying to pass these laws. So with that letter, both Corey O'Connor and Bill Peduto basically said, arrest me. They don't care. They shook it off, and they didn't care much about how that they were breaking the state law, and they just didn't care. So I was actually really shocked by that a politician would do that kind of stuff and just kind of shake off a warning from a district attorney, but they kept pressing forward. So on January 24th, they actually had a public hearing. They scheduled a public hearing. There was a lot of people that showed up for that. If you were pre-signed up, you had 3 minutes to speak, and if you wanted to show up and speak, you could, but you only got 60 seconds. So it was kind of about that, but there were so many people that showed up, it ended up being an hours-long public hearing. And because so many people showed up, they couldn't hold it in the city council chambers. They actually had to move it down to the lobby area of the city county building because there were so many people that showed up on both sides of the fence too. There were some really good arguments, really good speeches and really good heartfelt things that were said on both sides of the fence. But for the most part, it was they were really catering to the people that were anti-gun. And anybody who was there who was pro-gun kind of got a stiff arm a little bit. I personally didn't attend that public hearing, but the Firearms Owners Against Crime and Open Carry PA, they did tape a good portion of it. So if you want to head over to their Facebook, they actually have those videos on their Facebook page. You can watch them and kind of see how that whole thing went. So after the public hearing, there was a gentleman who tried to file criminal charges against the city council and the mayor. It didn't really go through, but that's because the way he filed too early, in my opinion. What should have happened was after the legislation would have been passed, or if it would have passed, that was the time to file criminal charges. Right now, what they're doing, the city council and the mayor, technically isn't breaking the law. Like I said, the state law, bars, cities and townships and municipalities from passing anti-gun legislation or any legislation regarding firearms, period. They can draft all they want, they can talk all they want, they can hold meetings all they want. Technically, they're not breaking the law. And that's what Zappala said. So this guy, he filed all those charges with District Attorney Zappala. Zappala released a letter basically saying that, hey man, you can't, there's nothing, I can't do anything. They haven't broken the law yet. So it was kind of like a waste of time. But at the same time though, it did show the council that we weren't playing around. And we're willing to go to court over this, and we're willing to file charges over this. So right now, let's back up a little bit. February 12th, they ended up having another meeting with experts on firearms, the city council and the mayor. They went through a whole bunch of stuff. They had an hours-long meeting. It was open to the public. Again, I couldn't go, but there were some people that did go. You weren't allowed to talk if you did go, if you were a citizen. It was mainly just for people to observe if you wanted to go to that meeting. I don't really know how it went. I know that they made amendments to the 3 gun laws that I'm going to talk about and go through with you guys. I don't know what those amendments are. I couldn't find any information on it. I couldn't find any manuscripts or any notes or anything like that. So I don't quite know what or how they amended the 3 laws, the 3 proposed laws. But I know right after that, they amended them, edited them, and then sent them off to the law department in the city of Pittsburgh to be checked and looked over before they were voted on. So and that's kind of where we're at right now. They haven't held a vote yet, even though they wanted to try to pass them by the end of February. I would imagine it's going to probably carry into the middle of March, maybe the end of March before we hear anything as far as them voting on it. So now what I want to do is go through with you guys the 3 laws. I'm going to read some portions of them and tell you guys kind of my feelings and what I actually think about all this. So let's get to it. So I'm going to go through the first proposed gun law with you guys. This one is about an assault weapons ban. They basically try to copy the assault weapons ban from the early 90s. But I'm going to go through some of this with you, so bear with me. I'm going to be looking away and kind of reading some of this stuff. They defined assault weapon. Any of the following, but not including any firearm modified to render it permanently inoperable, unassembled parts, or a combination of parts possessed for the purposes of repairing or servicing a lawfully possessed firearm. A select firearm capable of fully automatic, semi-automatic, or burst fire at the option of the user, or a firearm that has ability to accept a large capacity magazine. Look, fully automatic weapons aren't available to civilians. That's already a thing. Fine. I mean, I don't agree with that, but that's a different video. But that's already a thing. So I don't know why they needed to put that in there. And then they put on here, any of the following semi-automatic firearms. The AR-15 is listed, Auto Ordnance Thompson, AK-47 types, Barrett Light 50 model, 82A1, so any 50 cals, Bushmaster auto rifle and auto pistol, Colt AR-15 and Sporter, Charter Industries of Singapore SR-88. I don't even know what the hell that is. I mean, my point here is, like, they have a lot of lists, a big, obviously pretty long list of items here. But some of these guns, I've never even heard of. But my point is how stupid this is. And then below all that is that a semi-automatic firearm not specifically listed that meets any of the following criteria. A firearm is a semi-automatic rifle that has an ability to accept a detachable magazine and has at least two of the following. A folding or telescoping stock, a pistol grip that protrudes conspicuously beneath the action of the weapon, a bayonet mount, a flash suppressor or threaded barrel designed to accommodate a flash suppressor, and a grenade launcher. A freaking grenade launcher. They had to put that in there too. Because, everybody owns grenade launchers. A firearm is a semi-automatic pistol that has the ability to accept a detachable magazine and has at least two of the following. An ammunition magazine that attaches to the pistol outside of the pistol grip, which means basically any AR pistols, AK pistols, the Evo Scorpions, any pistol that's not like a handgun. A threaded barrel capable of accepting a barrel extender, don't know what that is, flash suppressor, forward hand grip, or silencer. A shroud that is attached to or partially or completely encircles the barrel that permits the shooter to hold the firearm with the non-trigger hand without being burned. A manufactured weight of 50 ounces or more when the pistol is unloaded. And a semi-automatic version of an automatic firearm. And then they go on to say a firearm is a semi-automatic shotgun, so they're going after shotguns too, that has at least two of the following. A folding or telescoping stock, a pistol grip that protrudes conspicuously beneath the action of the weapon, a fixed magazine capacity in excess of 5 rounds, and an ability to accept a detachable magazine. So like the Origin 12s, any of your AK-based, like a Sega 12, any kind of AK-based 12-gauge shotguns or shotguns, they're basically saying will be banned underneath this. A part or combination of parts designed or intended to convert a firearm into an assault weapon, or any combination of parts from which an assault weapon may be rapidly assembled if those parts are in possession or under the control of the same person. So let's say you had a bin full of parts from all your AR-15 builds, right? You just had parts. And you ordered, hypothetically, a California regulated gun, right? Or a gun that met all the criteria. But you could turn that gun into a fully functioning AR-15 or any of the other stipulations in this law with that box of parts. So all those parts are technically illegal too, which is just crazy. So in this law too, they actually talk about large capacity magazines. So a large capacity magazine, a firearm magazine, a belt drum, feed strip, or similar device that has the capacity of, or can be readily restored to converted to accept more than 10 rounds of ammunition but not included. A feeding device that has been permanently altered so that it cannot accommodate more than 10 rounds of ammunition. A .22 caliber tube ammunition feeding device. A tubular magazine that is contained in a lever action firearm, and a magazine that is permanently inoperable. And this is one of my favorite parts too. So this one is 607.2 prohibition, or .02 prohibition on non-specified firearms and weapons. It shall be unlawful to manufacture, sell, purchase, transport, carry, store, or otherwise hold in one's possession within the city of Pittsburgh firearms or weapons designed to intended to cause injury or death to persons or damage to property for which no common lawful purpose exists, including but not limited to an anti-tank gun, a bazooka, a bomb, a booby trap, a flamethrower, a grenade, a mine, or a mortar. Like anybody, a recoilless rifle and a rifle grenade launcher. Nobody has that. So I don't understand that stuff's already heavily regulated and illegal for, most of the time illegal for civilians to own anyway. Their reasoning for putting it in there, I don't know. But like I said before, they're trying to copy an assault weapons ban from the early 90s. So, like, I'm pretty sure they just copy and pasted all this in there. And then finally, this is the section that kind of gets to the prohibition part of it and the carrying of anything like that. So, it shall be unlawful to manufacture, sell, purchase, transport, carry, store, or otherwise hold in one's possession within the city of Pittsburgh an assault weapon as defined herein. Carrying of inoperable firearms prohibited. No person shall carry in any vehicle or concealed or unconcealed or about their person except on their land or in their abode a fixed place of business any firearm. Now, it says any firearm. Which kind of perplexes me a bit because, they talk about assault weapons, they talk about, they try to define everything, but what bothers me is carrying of an operable firearm, of operable firearms prohibited. So this section of this assault weapons ban legislation says no person shall carry in any vehicle or concealed or unconcealed on or about their person except when they're on their land or in their abode, or fixed place of business, any firearm. Any firearm. So, by definition, this means I can't carry my pistol at all, unless I'm in my house or in my fixed place of business. And my concealed carry permit, I guess, would not be valid. At least the way it's worded. That's how it comes off of. That you're not allowed to carry any firearm unless it's in your house, on your land, or in your business. After all that, there's a bunch of rigmarole. Exemptions. Basically, anybody who's a state, city, or government official, this doesn't apply to them at all. Any state, federal, county, or city agency or authorized agent of employee thereof for the use and the discharge of its official duties, including those charged with the enforcement of laws. Any federal, state, or local historical society, museum, or institutional collection that is open to the public. So any museum can hold these weapons or firearms, but they basically ban them all for civilians, but if you're a government, you're allowed to have them. So that kind of wraps up the assault weapons ban legislation. If you guys have any questions, let me know. And if you guys want to read all this stuff, I got all this from FOAC, the Firearms Owners Against Crime. I actually contacted the chairman, Kim Stolfer, and he actually sent me the PDFs of these, because I actually couldn't find them anywhere. But he did send me the PDFs of these. If you want them, I would say just contact him. He's a really nice guy. He'll get right back to you if you message him, or even just message FOAC. They're usually pretty responsive. And just say, hey, I just want a copy of them, and you can read them. You can actually dig into them a little bit deeper if you want to. So the next ordinance I'm going to go through is the ban on accessories and ammo. This one's kind of a little bit crazy, a little bit more obscure. There's some weird stuff in here, but I'll kind of read through some of this stuff. So let's jump right to the prohibited accessories and features. This is section 629.02. So, it shall be unlawful to manufacture, sell, purchase, transport, carry, store, or otherwise hold in one's possession within the city of Pittsburgh, blah, 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 any of the following. This kind of goes through, the assault weapons. A pistol grip that protrudes conspicuously beneath the weapon, a thumb hole stock. So, even the California compliant, like featureless stocks or thumb hole stock, it's not allowed. A folding or telescoping stock, a grenade launcher or flare launcher, a flash suppressor, or forward pistol grip. A semi-automatic centerfire rifle that has a fixed magazine with a capacity to accept more than 10 rounds, so that goes over the magazine ban, our high capacity magazine ban. Has an semi-automatic centerfire rifle that has overall length of less than 30 inches. So they're actually limited even more than the federal level now. So, a typical AR-15 meets the 26-inch rifle requirement. That's what's defined by the NFA as a rifle. They're upping that even further to make it longer. A semi-automatic pistol that does not have a fixed magazine, but has one of the following: a threaded barrel, capable of accepting a flash suppressor, forward hand grip, or silencer, a second hand grip, a shroud that is attached to or partially or completely encircles the barrel that allows the bearer to fire the weapon without burning the bearer's hands, except a slide that encloses the barrel. The capacity to accept a detachable magazine at the location outside of the pistol grip. A semi-automatic pistol with a fixed magazine that is the capacity of more than 10 rounds. So, like my M&P, for example, I carry a full-size Smith & Wesson M&P. You guys can see that over in my EDC video. That holds 17 rounds in the magazine. That would be illegal under this law. So the magazines, any magazines that I have currently, I'd have to buy 10-round magazines for. Semi-automatic shotgun that has both of the following: folding or telescoping stock, and a pistol grip that protrudes beneath the action of the weapon, a thumbhole stock, or a vertical hand grip. A semi-automatic shotgun that has the ability to accept a detachable magazine, and any shotgun with a revolving cylinder, which is, I don't know why they would throw that in there, but that's interesting. So that goes through all the kind of the accessories. I mean, that's crazy. They're gonna ban. They're trying to ban everything possible and come up with every possible combination to keep you from owning basically any semi-automatic weapon, period. With the exception of maybe a pistol, but I mean, even that, you're limiting a lot of different things on like a handgun, like my M&P. So, but let's talk about ammunition. They do have some ammunition bans in here, which is ludicrous. So they're trying to not only ban certain types of firearms and accessories, but they're also trying to ban certain types of ammunition. Section 629.03, prohibited ammunition. Any ammunition containing an explosive or incendiary material other than the chemical substance included but not limited to that which is commonly known for tracer ammunition, and which is commonly known as incendiary ammunition. So if you have a 50 BMG with API rounds, or even tracer rounds, or you have AR-15 tracer rounds, or Dragon's Breath 12 gauge shotgun, those would all be considered illegal under this section. Armor or metal penetrating ammunition. So again, any AP rounds or API rounds for 50 BMG, any steel core rounds that are commonly found in AR-15s, and some AR-15 ammunition, 5.56 ammunition, those will be all banned. A projectile or projectile core, which may be used in a pistol and which is constructed entirely excluding the presence of traces of other substances from one or a combination of tungsten alloys, steel, iron, brass, bronze, beryllium copper, or depleted uranium. So, I know that like Lehigh or Underwood Ammo, yeah, they make, well, I can't remember the company in particular, but they make, or the point I'm trying to make is any solid core rounds, like you can get the solid brass projectiles or solid copper projectiles to load, hand load, those are illegal now too. A full jacketed projectile larger than a .22 caliber, designed and intended for use in a pistol, and whose jacket has a weight of more than 25% of the total weight of the projectile. And ammunition for a 50 BMG rifle. So they're really trying to limit what you can own and what you can, reload, or even reloading for your hunting rifle. They're trying to limit stuff for that too. So I guess the point I'm trying to make with that is this isn't just about semi-automatic firearms. This isn't about assault weapons or high capacity magazines. They are really trying to sneak stuff in there so that you can't own anything. This isn't just about just these three laws, on what appears to be on the surface. They're actively trying to ban everything. And that's the point of this whole thing, this whole conversation, is they're trying to ban everything. And they're going to try to push it through. So I'm going to go over some other accessories that they have in here. They call them prohibited modifications. Some of these are triggers, or it really goes through like stuff like bump stocks or anything that increases the rate of fire of a semi-automatic weapon. or firearms. So it shall be unlawful to manufacture blah 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 blah. A binary trigger, a bump stock, a multi-burst trigger activator, which I have no idea what that is. A rapid fire device, so your finger. A semi-automatic modification. So that's really general. A semi-automatic modification. I mean, I have a 3.5 pound drop-in trigger in my 300 blackout rifle, which I actually have. Load this right here. So your standard AR-15 usually has what, a 4.5 to 5 pound trigger pull. This has a 3.5 pound, and it's, you know, minimum travel, whatever. So technically, this semi-automatic modification, that could be defined as a semi-automatic modification. So this drop-in trigger is now technically illegal under Pittsburgh law. A silencer, which I don't know. Yeah, so a silencer, suppressors. So you're not allowed to own any of that stuff in the city of Pittsburgh. Or a trigger crank. Oh, okay, so I stand corrected here. There is actually a section here that says, this chapter shall not be construed to prohibit the use of or replacement trigger or trigger components manufactured and intended to decrease the weight of a trigger pull or to improve the quality and release of the trigger pull in a firearm. So, okay, I misspoke. The trigger that I have in my AR pistol there would be just fine. But, I mean, the way... just the way it's worded, it's a little, you know, generalized, and it just makes me worry that eventually they're going to take that little B section out, and then they can eventually, you know, outlaw any kind of trigger modification that lowers trigger poundage, or lowers the poundage of a trigger pull. And again, they have the whole section here for exemptions. It doesn't apply to any federal or state agency or city agency, and, you know, so us civilians aren't allowed to use this, but the government's totally allowed to have it. So that is another point I want to try to make, is that should scare you guys. The fact that the federal government is trying to take your rights away and your ability to own something away, but it's perfectly fine for them to own it, that's not fair. I mean, that's not what our founding fathers wanted. If you go back in time and you look at what militias and what people were allowed to own, they essentially had military-grade weapons. I mean, if you could afford it back then, you could own a cannon. There was no problem with you owning a cannon. Their version of the assault rifle, which would be assault rifle, would be a musket. The military had muskets. They had muskets. Everybody had pistols. Everybody had that kind of stuff, and everything was open to everybody to buy and purchase and own. So my point is, why are they allowed to own it and not us? Are they afraid of us owning all that stuff? I don't know. You guys decide on that one. So that goes through just penalties and everything after that. I'm not going to go through that stuff, but I just wanted to kind of go through the meat of what ammunition and modifications and accessories they were going to ban. So let's talk about the last one. The last one that they had proposed was extreme risk protection orders, or red flag orders, red flag laws. There's kind of a lot of different names for them, but they call them extreme risk protection orders. I can kind of go through this with you guys, just in general, because I've already read up on these. There's actually quite a few states that have adopted these. I mean, they're really unconstitutional. Not only do they break the Second Amendment, they break a couple different amendments, including your right to due process. So the general gist of an extreme protection order or a red flag order is, if you believe somebody is an extreme risk to themselves or others, you can go to the police and go to the courts and say, hey, this person is a danger to themselves or others, and you can file extreme risk protection order. So what they do is they'll file the paperwork and everything without your knowledge, without you, having your say. They give it to the police. The police they process a warrant. They come to your house at any time of the day. It could be in the middle of the night, or in the case of a gentleman in Maryland, they showed up at 5:30 in the morning, and they will take your concealed carry license and any firearms that are on the property. And if you have any other firearms that you have that are accessible to you, you have 72 hours to turn them in. At least that's what it states in this proposed legislation. So let's say you have a hunting cabin with like some shotguns and some hunting rifles. You have to go get those and bring them in. If you don't, you could serve prison time. What scares me the most is anybody can do this. In other states, not particularly this one, but in other states, anybody can say that you're an extreme risk. In this one in particular, it gives family and law enforcement, I believe, family or household member or a law enforcement officer. So if they feel that you are an extreme risk for hurting somebody or hurting yourself, they can file that stuff. Now, let's just say you have a liberal or left-leaning or anti-gun, I should say, more or less anti-gun family member that doesn't like that you have firearms. They could technically waltz in to a police station and file an extreme risk protection order against you. And then the extreme risk protection order, by default, in this bit of legislation, lasts a full year if you don't fight it in court. So not only is your property being taken and you're not getting due process before your property's confiscated, it's all being done without your knowledge. And now you have to fight to get all your stuff back. So you're being proven guilty before you even have your trial, before you even have your say in the courts. And somebody comes and takes your property, and there's actually really not an extreme risk involved, or it's a false allegation. Now you have to spend your time, your money, taking time off work, hiring a lawyer to fight this. And it's ridiculous. And what's crazy is a person can actually renew the risk protection order. So let's say hypothetically you don't fight the protection order, and it lasts a full year. You wait your full year to get your stuff back. Well, that person on that year, on the anniversary of that risk protection order, as soon as it expires, they can waltz back in and say, hey, they're still an extreme risk to themselves or others. And there goes another year. So, this is a very dangerous law, in my opinion. Allegations can come from anybody in your family or a law enforcement officer. If you're being harassed by law enforcement, because, I support law enforcement. I have police officers in my family. Heck, my sister even dates a police officer. I know a lot of good law enforcement officers, okay? But let's be honest, some of them are a little shady, and some of them, are in some of the politicians' pockets. What's stopping from, some of these law enforcement officers from showing up, or showing up to the court and filing extreme risk protection order against you because they know you or they know that you have firearms? What's stopping them from doing that? And who are they going to believe? The guy who's fighting against the extreme risk protection order, or the police officer? So, the court obviously is going to believe the police officer. So, I hope you guys understand the dangerous portions of this and what this could mean for law-abiding citizens that just own firearms. It could get really ugly really fast. In fact, this has happened a couple times already in the United States, where these have been served and the police officers came and to confiscate, a person's firearms. Like I said, I recently mentioned about the guy down in Maryland. He was shot and killed. He was shot and killed during a confiscation. I honestly think that, if that does happen here in Pittsburgh, I mean, it's going to put our law enforcement in danger. Because I can tell you that there's a lot of people here that are not going to go silently. They will not give up their firearms quietly. And there could be an altercation, and potentially deadly altercation. So this is the one assault weapons and accessory weapons ban aside, this one probably scares me the most. Is the ability for them to just show up at your house without due process, without your knowledge, and just take your property, and just take your firearms from you. So I hope you guys realize the danger of this one. So my final thoughts on all this. These 3 proposed gun laws, are unconstitutional on the federal level and the state level. If you look at our state law, our preemption law, 6120, it prevents cities and municipalities from passing firearms laws. They're breaking, the city council and the mayor are breaking state law by doing this. Or if they pass, they will be breaking state law. It also violates our state constitution too. So here, I actually have that written down here. Give me one second, I want to pull that up. So, PA Article 1, Section 21. The right to bear arms in defense of themselves and the state shall not be questioned. That's in the PA Constitution. So, the right to bear arms in defense of themselves and the state shall not be questioned. In my opinion, that's even, that's on par with, obviously, our federal Constitution. Shall not be infringed. So not only does it violate the 6120 preemption law, it violates our state constitution and our federal constitution. So why they're pushing for it and why they think that they can battle in court and win is beyond me. They must have this God complex that they think that they can do this. Now, other states have passed anti-gun legislation. And it's hard because once it's passed, it's hard to reverse it. And it takes months, if not years, of hard work and money from pro-gun groups, and other politicians to overturn these laws. So if you're from Pittsburgh and you're from Western Pennsylvania, or Pennsylvania in general, I highly suggest that you get involved with these pro-gun groups in Pittsburgh, because in my opinion, we're the guinea pig. The city council and Mayor Peduto, they got the full support of Governor Wolf, Governor Tom Wolf. He is also trying to push gun legislation at the state level. Now, I haven't heard too much news about that. I know that he is doing it, so I think what they're trying to do is trying to push this on the city level to see what they can get away with. They're throwing it at the wall and seeing what sticks. And depending on what sticks, they could go straight to the state level and either pass the same set of laws or pass even more gun legislation that would completely ban firearms altogether. So I ask that you guys please get involved. If you're watching this, get involved with GOA, Gun Owners of America, Firearms Owners Against Crime, and Open Carry PA. I also have a pro-gun group, pro-Second Amendment group called 2A Pittsburgh on Facebook. If you guys want to check that out, you guys can. It is a closed group, and we do screen everybody that goes into the group. I do have a set of admins that pre-screen everybody and to make sure and to keep the undesirable anti-gun people out. Because we've even had Antifa try to get into our group and stir some trouble up. So we do look at everybody and everybody's background and try to find out if you don't really fit within the group. So, but if you do want to join that group, you're more than welcome to. I try to post stuff from FOAC and Open Carry PA. I post a lot of educational stuff from YouTube on firearms, and just obviously we do have a laugh with a couple memes and stuff on that page as well. But you guys can go ahead and look that up. Anything else? I ask your help. I ask you guys to help out and get involved in this battle, because if we let this pass, if we let this go, it could just domino effect and snowball right into state law, and that is no good. And then we'll become the 10th state to have anti-gun laws, because right now there's 9 states and the District of Columbia. So Washington, D.C., they all have anti-gun legislation, which is just frightening to think about. So 1/5 of the states in the United States have anti-gun legislation. So just think about that, because it could be your state next. If you're listening, and you're not a PA resident or a Pittsburgh resident, just know that it's starting to catch in other states and starting to snowball into other states, and it could come to your state. I didn't think it was going to come to Pittsburgh. I didn't think we were going to have this problem, but we are. Unfortunately, we are. So please get involved. Call your state and local reps. Pester them, and make sure that they know that this anti-gun rhetoric, this anti-gun legislation is not what the people want. So that's all I got for you guys today. I hope this was informational for you guys. If you guys got any questions, leave some questions down in the comments. I'll try to answer them as best as I can. If you need some direction on getting some more information, please ask. I can kind of get you in contact with the people that I know, if you want to dig a little deeper into the situation. But yeah, that's all I got from you guys. You guys be safe out there, and I'll see you guys in the next one.